So tonight we're not just honoring a man, we're honoring hard work, we're honoring honesty, we're honoring devotion and dedication, we're honoring the fear of God.
Such an icon that will be remembered by generations to come. He's one of the very first people in this business that actually believed in my work. It's refreshing to see a figure emerge that is so selfless, that is dedicated to making sure everybody around him, that people grow.
12 years now that we started production at Terra Culture. He's been an encourager, an inspiration, a mentor, and it is such a delight to be hosting Femi Odugbemi, as you can see, tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, happy Sunday to everybody in the house tonight. If you know you're ready to take the energy.
It's a lot of fun. You're going to see a lot of entertainment. This is what we do here. We're going to have a lot of food. And then we're going to dance if you want to dance. But essentially, it's just an easy night to celebrate a great guy for his election onto the Oscars and the Emmys membership boards. So clap for him. It's not an easy thing. There are very few Africans that are in that position. Ladies and gentlemen, have a lovely evening.
I've only one question for the director of that dance. Where is my red costume? Where is my visa? I want to go to Egypt. You know I'm a dancer, even though I'll dance with two legs, two left legs. Many people know Femi Odugbemi as director, producer, a writer, a journalist, one of the best columnists that I have seen. I enjoy publishing his articles, and I've told him we need to publish those books. He's so shy about it, the book about your column, but he doesn't want to do that. Femi Odugbemi is essentially a teacher. And if you agree with me, just give him a round of applause.
So we're going to go into your journey, but we really want to find out where it started for you.
Well, it started at the cinemas. I mean, I was born number 2 Ayonuga Street. Everybody knows this. Fade. It's by the railway line, not far from Ikorodu Road. And down, yes, you can trek to the shrine from there, the old shrine. And if you know Kajola Market, what is Kajola Market now used to have a cinema. There were a lot of cinemas there. And it was in those cinemas that I think my journey started. The whole idea of storytelling came from there. So I'm like many of those who were born in the 70s and born in the 60s, grew up in the 70s. We grew up on a diet of Indian and Chinese films. But I knew very early that I had no talent to be an actor. So I fell into telling stories, and I found my space there. So really, that's usually the beginning for many folks. There is a way in which film creates filmmakers.
Starting from advertising to television to film, how did you know it was time to transition? How did we get to Tinsel, which is a huge, huge win? You know, in 2023, we're going to 3,200, I think, episodes. That is huge. Can we give that a round of applause? That's the longest soap opera, right? Yeah, that's huge. So when did you know it was time to transition into all these different ones?
I don't know what to say. Most people For me, advertising, a lot of good things happened to me in advertising. And I ended up in advertising only because I had already been in television. I was at NTA Kaduna, and I think the salary then was 700 naira, and there was not a lot you could do with that. So for me, when I got the job at Lintas to be an agency producer, it was an amazing opportunity, and I think the salary was either 3,000 or 4,000. I mean, so if you think about that first. But advertising taught me accountability, how a creative becomes accountable. Yeah. Advertising taught me how to manage budgets. Advertising taught me how to build institutions like companies. Yeah. Advertising, it was from advertising I met a lot of consequential people who are still in my life today. I met Steve Gukas in advertising. I met Theo Lawson. He was building, brand sets. I met Mahmood in advertising. It is well. It's an honor, sir. Thank you. Almost half the people here I met, Auntie I met in advertising. So really, advertising was really for me. But what is advertising? Advertising is short films. Yeah. It's just that it's short films somebody else is paying for. And so I learned from there, and I've never really used my money to make anything in my life. That's why I'm always wondering people who take money from their relatives and all of that. There's always, what I learned from advertising is there is always a way to raise the funding for a project if you know how to market the project, how to pitch the project, how to sell the project. People should invest, not dash you money. And that's really what I learned from advertising the most. I made a lot of friends there. How did I know when it was time to transition? I think there is a way in which I think God has been really kind to me, in that I just get a hunger for a bigger thing, a bigger project. And bigger project means you need bigger money or you need a bigger platform. But audiovisual first was a necessity, simply because the people who were willing to fund what I wanted to do in audiovisual first needed not to just be part of a project, they needed to own the company. They needed to be part of owning the company. And so I've learned how to structure not just a project, how to structure companies. And if you notice, one of the things I've made sure in all the trainings I do is to focus a lot on the business of show business. Yeah. So that whilst you're very good at making things, you also have to learn to be very good at selling it. Yeah. So that's it. The transitions have always sort of like emerged. So
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's on 25 right now. Are you ready for this? That's what's up. Oh, are you into it right now? Let's go. Is what you say. One time, beat it on, beat it on, beat it on, beat it on. What's up? Hey, shake, shake it, shake, shake, shake it. You say vibes on me. You say. Hey, I'm coming out right now. It's all about to let it show right now. I'm coming out right now. Say, why?
There's a new me coming out, and I just have to live, and I wanna give.
Hey.
I'm completely positive. I think this time around I am gonna do
Yes,
it
right.
like you never knew it. Oh, I'll make it through. The time has come for me to break out of the
It's all about taking it up right now. It's all about coming out. Yes, right.
I'm coming out.
I'm coming out right now.
I want the world.
Yes, right. Yes, right.
I got to let it show. I'm coming out.
Coming out.
I want the world to know. I got to let it show. I'm coming out. I want the world to know. I got to let it
It's 5 on Oscar 5.
I'm coming out.
show right now, ladies and gentlemen.
I love that. And we've spoken about you being a mentor to many people, but which mentors did you have?
Well, I mean, if I start from Kaduna, because I did have people in Kaduna who were very kind to me. Ambassador Yusuf Maman, he's still in Abuja somewhere. He was the manager news at NTA when I was in NTA. Dr. Bayo Atoebi, he was my direct boss. He was very kind to me. There's quite a lot of people from Kaduna, but, you know, Steve Omoja Sir Steve, has been was a very important influence. Yeah. Jimmy Odumosu, most of you heard that name before. He gave me a sense of how to work here. Yeah. But he also introduced me to people. He created a network. Almost everyone that I know in production today, I probably met because he dragged me into many of the work that he was doing. I could go on and on. But there were also people who are contemporaries, if you could say that, who are also in a mentoring space for me. Yeah. Actually, before I say that, I should add into the list of my mentors Uncle Steve Rhodes, of blessed memory, Uncle Tunde Oloyede, of blessed memory. These people, it's very, I say their name with great reference because I think their influence on me was very immersive. But I think they mentored me more as a man in many ways. They taught me how to stay calm, like they always say. So it's really an honor to have Auntie here today. Thank you.
Bless.
Thank you for coming. But I have a lot of friends. I think I've been mentored by a network of friends as well, who I think are incredibly focused on excellence. And I have, if you ask me what's the biggest talent I have, is that somehow I'm gifted with keeping people. Yeah. I have people here I've known for 30 years, people I've known for 35. Yeah. I could even extend that to some really old geezers. I mean, I met Steve in the reception, Steve Gukas, I met him in the reception of, what's that hotel in Jos? Hill Station Hotel. No one introduced me to him. I was trying to get someone to tell me how to get to NTA Jos. And the girl at the desk was being saucy. And someone showed up at my back and said, "You want to go to NTA Jos? I've got to drop something. When I finish, you can come with me and I'll drop you." And I entered this car, and now it's 30 years later. Wow. He's still driving me around. He's still driving. But those are the things that shape my life. I have a lot of long-term friends, long-term, all of you know, Theo Lawson, Jama. Yeah. I'm blessed by people. That's what I would say.
Are you into it right now? Come on, come on, come on, come on. I got it, power. That's right.
Like the track of the whip, I snap attack, front to back, in this thing called rap. Nigga like a shovel, rhyme double on a heavenly level. Bang the bass, turn up the treble. Radical mind, day and night, all the time. 714, wide the line. Maniac, radiac, winning the game. I'm the lyrical Jesse James.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Hey! Are you ready now? Hey! Hey!
He's just an icon, and he's a gentleman in every sense of the word. In every sense of the word. I met Femi when he was at Lintas. We were young boys then, no gray hair. But we were very hardworking. I mean, not... You won't believe where. You know, so somebody brought us together. His name is Tony Ogunlana, late Tony. So he goes, you got to meet this young man. You guys are the same. Your energy is unimaginable, and blah, 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 blah. So Mr. Detiba at the time, you know, it was a time when only the old men produced the big commercials. So, and look, Tony and I worked at NTA, and they've always said, this place will not just contain you. So then they had one commercial, and he goes, let's try these young people. I mean, we can't keep going like this. So what's the future of this place? You know, the older men, when they give them the script, if you change one line, it's going to cost you money. They don't care. Look, we were struggling young men. So it was, look, change all the lines, we'll shoot it. You know, so one made a demo, and I can remember very vividly, Femi was all pushing like, yeah, look, this man can do it. This man can do it. This man can do it. And, you know, at the end of the day, they put a major production in my hands. I didn't even have a company. So they said, bring your invoice. I didn't have a company that they could write an invoice to. You know, but one had all the backing from Femi, from Uncle Ted Mokoro, from Tony Ogunlana. And, you know, ever since then, we've been friends. He's one of those people who is always looking out for your good. And he comes looking for you. He actually goes out of his way. My office is not far from his. He would actually come. He said, I'm just checking on you. You can lucky anybody's here. But, you know, what's going on in the industry? Are you okay? You know, and Femi has always been like that. You've got a project. He's got very kind words for your project, for yourself. Everywhere he's able to open doors, Femi never misses the opportunity.
Before I ever became a broadcaster, my first love actually was acting. That is actually what I wanted to do. And my father said, you want to what? So I'm talking about early 70s, all right? It is interesting that virtually, I don't know whether to say, it's not 45 years. It's almost 50 years since I had this passion, this dream, if you like, about acting. It's taken me 50 years. And it has taken a phone call from Femi Odugbemi to actually make me remember that this is what I wanted to do initially. Yeah, so I thank, even though the character that he has given me is a pretty devastating one. And I can see one of the difficult people.
Two things stand out when you meet Femi. One is his infectious sense of humor. Femi loves a good laugh. And there's always abundant supply of that when I get to meet him. And I always look forward to meeting Femi because life becomes light and it's easy to get by. But more importantly is his insight. Every industry, every people need a think tank. People who see beyond what is very present. People who are able to see with insight into things that a lot of people, even going through the circumstances, don't quite understand. And one thing you're always sure to get with Femi is a take on things that is not conventional, that is not usual.
5. Are you ready for this one? It's a 5. Aye. Are you seeing this tonight? Whoa, 5 for me.
for them hood girls, them good girls, straight masterpieces. Styling,
That's right.
wildin',
Mr. Femi Odugbemi, we're going there.
got Chuck's on with Saint Laurent. Gotta kiss myself, I'm so pretty. I'm too hot. Call the police and the fireman. I'm too hot.
That's right.
The dragon wanna retire, man. I'm
too
too
hot.
Say my name, you know who I am. I'm
too hot.
And my band about that money.
I go. Sing hallelujah. Let's go. Sing hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. One time, give it to you. The one time, give it to you. Let's go. Are you ready for this one? Let's break it up. One time, this one.
I am fortunate to have met Femi Odugbemi many years ago in the 90s when the first meeting of ITPAN took place in the French Cultural Center in those days. And incidentally, I also met him during a very sad event, during the wakekeeping of Uncle Steve Rhodes. And since then, we got closer and closer. For me, Femi is the symbol of humanity and humility. He's a great man, and I wish him the best. And congratulations for all the awards he got recently. So that is all I can say.
Well, I met Efo, Presido I call him. I would say, how long ago? About 20... I know that he was in his 30s, when we met. When he was on the executive of ITPAN, and then eventually became the president of ITPAN, which is why up till today, I still call him Presido. I was a journalist with The Guardian, and then they had this lovely office in Bagada. And because I also lived in Bagada, it was not a problem always looking in. And from there, we developed a kind of a bond. You're kind of a guy, deep, witty, intellectual, and enormously creative. So I felt that this was my kind of a guy. And then when I was going to travel for my master's, I think that was in 2004, 2005, there were a bit of some issues with my scholarship. And Femi came through, He was one of the few key core guys who said that, we can, Steve, don't worry, we have to sort this one way or the other. And ever since, we've been close, we've been friends, we've been, IREP is more than 10 years now. Except I was not in Nigeria, there was hardly any IREP that I will miss. And it's a kind of a bond, professionally speaking and artistically speaking. So I'm not surprised that he became the first Nigerian that will be on the Oscars thing and then on the Emmys thing.
I met Mr. Odugbemi at the very start of my career as a writer. And every time I tell my story, there's no way I can tell the story without mentioning him. You understand? Because he's one of those that groomed me and all that. And we also worked together on Tinsel. I would just essentially say through his guidance, you understand, and mentorship, I emerged as a writer of note.
It's a vibe, it's a vibe! Turn now, turn now! Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me! Don't believe me, just vibe! Yes, right? Hey, turn out to be, turn out to be, turn out to vibe! Whoa, we just say! Don't believe me, just vibe! Don't believe me, just vibe! Are you ready? Don't believe me, just vibe! Don't believe me, just vibe! Shake it! Hey, hey, oh! You said that is cool! Take it up! Yes, right? Hey, pop it, pop it, pop it, pop it. Hey, why? Say what time you say. We show up, we gon' show up. Hey.
Femi, that he was invited to be part of the Academy, as people call the Oscars, and the Emmys. It's not an accident, by virtue of what he's done and what he can still do. Once Femi has a leg in there, we know Nigeria is covered. Africa is covered. Femi is so selfless that, we've had our back and forth, but Femi is a friend you can always rely on. He's dependable, has integrity,
and is ready to push the frontier of the industry, particularly of this nation.
But beyond that also is a sense of the future. So there's constantly a thinking of, this is where we are today, where are we going? And a thinking for the clan rather than a thinking for the self. And so whether it's ITPAN, it's a thought about how do we make this institution better and how do we make the practitioners in that space better. That has translated into film, and the journeys that he's had to different places around the world, creating impact and value, in all of these fields. And so it's no surprise that he's, being taken into the academies that he's been taken into, because constantly there is a sharpness of mind, a presence and a focus that is usually quite lacking. A lot of people are very focused on themselves and the now. Femi is always looking at the next thing and what is for the betterment of everyone. And for that, I think that he's more than worthy of this celebration and a lot more to come.
Like that. Call the police and the firemen. I'm too hot. Make a dragon wanna retire, man. I'm too hot.
I ain't like that. It's right.
Bitch, say my name, you know who
Why
I
be
am.
on
I'm
it?
too
Do
hot.
Like that.
I'm a band about that money.
Yes, right. Girls sing hallelujah. Boys sing hallelujah. Girls sing hallelujah. One time, must I give it to you? One time, must I give it to you? Ladies and gentlemen, let's drive it on, you sound. What? It's a vibe, it's a vibe. Aye, time now. Right. Aye, party time. One time.
Don't believe me, just watch.
Aye.
Don't believe me, just watch.
Check it.
Don't believe me, just watch.
Check it.
Don't believe me, just watch.
Yes, sir.
Hey, oh!
Woo! That's a vibe. That's a vibe. That's a vibe.
Before we leave,
Ooh.
let me tell y'all a little something. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up.
We've known each other for probably 20 years running now. He's always been that sort of person who creates stuff that people like me admire. I first saw Morocco, his film, which was a take on the destruction of that old establishment, and it's one of those films that he made to speak the idea of community development and what government doesn't do right, And at the time, not a lot of people were looking at the idea of documentary films as a significant part of the mix of culture propagation. That sort of like attracted to him. Or rather, made me begin to want to figure out what kind of a creative he is.
Femi Odugbemi is one of those people you can't really say when or how you met. All I know is I've known him for at least, I keep thinking it was just a few years ago, but I've at least 2 decades plus. Met him in the very early days, formally, maybe in the very early days of IPAN, I think, which was in the early 2000s. Might have been in the late 90s, but definitely maybe the early 2000s, so at least 2 decades plus. And immediately we met, obviously, I seem to remember a friend of ours from Republic of Benin who kept saying, you need to meet this guy, you need to meet this guy. But we met, and then it took off from there. So more than professionally, doing stuff for ITPAN, for the industry. Immediately we became good farm friends, great Egbon. And I've had many adventures over the years, both professionally and personally. I don't say this to denigrate anyone else who's held the position of president of IPAN, but there's almost a pre-Femi Odugbemi era of IPAN and a post-Femi Odugbemi of IPAN. And the way IPAN grew, forged alliances nationwide, continent-wide, across different industries, gave IPAN a platform and a profession, a professionalism and clout beyond its little base. It speaks to the sort of things Femi does and the ways he had tried to always revolutionize and grow, more importantly, grow the industry on all levels positively. We've collaborated on many things. We co-founded IREP Film Festival together 11, 12 years ago. And the venue we are here now, Terra, was where we had our very first edition of IREP Film Festival. Myself, Femi, Jaman, 2011 January, I think it was. That's over 11 years ago. And those are the kind of initiatives and things Femi does selflessly. I've seen many people he's brought into the industry, grow in the industry, whether actors, costumiers, photographers, DOPs. We saw it happen with Tinsel, and we saw how he grew. He would say it wasn't him, obviously team effort in these things, but he grew a whole set of people who have now gone on to do so many fantastic things. And that's Femi for you. Keeps pushing himself, pushing others, setting standards, achieving the standards and moving up again. And that's his legacy.
My name is Tosi Eagle, and I'd like to thank Uncle Femi, first of all, for giving me my first job in the TV industry. He hired me on Battleground as a director, and he gave me an insight on what the industry was like. And ever since then, he's guided me on every production I've done. When I made my first feature film, 7, he saw it privately and, gave me advice on, tips to do and things to do. And every time I'm making a film or a script, I go and see him and say, Uncle, look, this is what I'm trying to do, and he still gives me advice. And he's sort of like a father to me in the industry. And luckily, he also has a relationship with my own dad. So he's Uncle Femi is what you're aspiring to be in the future. He's such a great man, an honest person. And the great thing about him is that if you're doing something, he will tell you the truth. Listen, it's not good, it's good, and you get the right answer. And he's always been a guiding hand and a father figure for me in this industry. And I'm so very grateful, and I'm happy that he's being honored today.
I met Uncle Femi year 2018 when we came as pioneer students for MTF. He was our director, and one thing about FO that I really love is he has the ability to push you to bring the best part of you. So you might have things in you that you're hiding, maybe you're scared or something. He has that, will I say, parental nudge to push you to do better.
Pop it up. No, you know what's up? Let's go. Hey, it's a vibe. Oh, one time inside. One time, fuck it up. Hey, say, just go, just go, just go. Oh, whoa, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Hey, turn it on, turn it on. Oh, oh, oh. That's one thing. Don't believe me, just what? Don't believe. Turn it up. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't believe me, just right. Hey. Whoa. Oh. One time. Don't believe me, just right. 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 Hey, hey, hey. Oh. Yeah. Pump it up, he said pump it up. One time. Pump it up. Bring it on, bring it on. Gotta pump it up. Put your pinky rings up to the moon. Ladies and gentlemen. What y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. That's what's up, ladies and gentlemen. Head to toe so clear. Look out. Showtime. Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Gone tell. Oh, they don't know. Gone tell. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Shut up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Yeah. Designer mix. Yeah. Inglewood's finest shoes. Whoop, whoop. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Known to give the color red the blues. Woo, shit. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many
It's not easy.
And speaking of people, let's talk a little bit about your reason behind investing so much in people? Because I think everybody here can testify to the fact that he's invested in us in some way. What is your why?
I think I just said it. First and foremost, because people invested in me. It's the way it works. It's a life cycle. I always tell you guys, there's no one that's self-made, ever. If your name is somewhere, somebody mentioned it. The greatest success you can have is for people to speak for you where you are not. And that's why it's vital. It's you pay it forward. And if you remember, when you guys were graduating, I asked of you only one thing. I said, pay it forward.
Oh yeah, that's true. You did say that.
Always.
Yeah.
You must. I'm full with so many different people, influences. But also, you know, I do believe that in giving to you guys or to the next generation, there are some things I've come to learn, you know, from different people. But when I put it together, I add the God element to it. I think it sets you up really nice. But the main reason is because I have been given exactly the same.
Femi doesn't think you should take anything lightly. He doesn't see any reason why your life should be without purpose or why you should do anything ordinarily. And I'm an ordinary person. I'm an ordinary kind of person, really. I'm just like, okay, you let it be. And he's like, no, you know, everything has to have meaning, has to have an end, you know? He gives you lectures all the time. You know, sometimes you're like one of his MTF students. Yeah, but really, life lessons all the time.
In an era where all you hear is bad news, we suddenly got this glowing news from all over the world that one of us, and when I say one of us, is truly one of us. He belongs to the arts and creative culture, and he has done wonderfully well in that space. Is it the hard work? Is it the creativity? Is it the imagination? We thought we were the only people observing him. We did not know that the whole world was actually watching him and adulating him until we got the announcement. Before you get to sit on the people who determine the winners of both the Oscar and the Emmy, you must have done extraordinary thing, especially from the continent of Africa, because Africa is not that much on the prominent focus of the work, especially only for bad things. But it's very, very occasionally that you hear an African winning the Grammy, the Nobel Prize. This is like the Nobel Prize of the creative industry. And we are so proud. We are so proud that Femi Odugbemi, one of us, I'm exceptionally proud because he sits on the board of the CORA, which is the Committee for Relevant Arts, where he's a director. And I'm so proud to have him and identify with him. We even have bragging rights now, you know, to say, we can do it and we have done it so well. So the creative world, the world of arts and culture, is particularly happy. And we can say that over and over again at the risk of repeating ourselves. Thank you very much.
He's very creative in everything he does. And I mean everything. He's very creative. Everything. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so so life really has been an interesting journey with him. Fantastic husband, friend. There's really nothing more than knowing that someone is always like thinking a step ahead of you, because he's very like futuristic. He's done so many things with young people that he's always just thinking about what's the next thing. He knows what's happening, what's trending, you know, technologically. He's just always like 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. Even though I'm kind of like younger than he is, you know, but you know, he's so full of life and information and energy. Sometimes they're like, hey, come on, slow down. But, you know, I thank God for him every day.
But the question I would have loved to ask you, does it laugh like that at all? Femi is the only one. If Femi starts laughing there, the whole building will shake. So Maki Shoyinka will always say, don't let that guy laugh. Because
when you ask me what is success, and I tell you guys, you must always see it clearly, what success means for you. Yeah. For me, I've never really... Success for me means legacy. Success for me means doing stuff that stand the test of time.
Yeah.
The reason we ask you to be excellent, to work hard, to make sure that the quality of the product will stand, is simply because today, if you make any work, there's 1,000 other works coming out on the very day that yours is coming out. There is a certain impermanence to art itself and art products. So the question then is not the art you're making, it's about what does your art represent.
Yeah.
And like I always say, it's not so much what you know when you get to a certain age, and I think I'm at that age now. It's not what you know. It's actually more important what you're known for.
Exactly.
So I'm inside that space now where what I'm known for is what I'm working on. And that's not really about projects.
Yeah.
That's about building common, you know, trying to fight for other people where I can.
Yeah.
But speaking truth. That's what I try to do all the time. So if I tell a young person your film is really good, I'm not saying it because I need you to like me. I'm 60 years old. What will you do for me? So if I tell you it's good, it's because I believe it to be good. But I also feel at this age I reserve the right to say the film is crap and not get beaten up or waylaid, you know. It does not mean I'm always right. It just means
you can.
That's the truth that I know. But the goal is just to acquire more friends.
Yeah.
So when you're leaving, we'll give you tag numbers. Please introduce me to one person before this journey is over. But really, thank you everyone for coming. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Epa.
It's all about our
Hi, my name is Stanley Ikwari. I'm here today to celebrate Uncle Femi Odugbemi.
It's all about the sweat on fire. Touch to the beat. One time, touch to the beat. Yes, I. If I'm feeling this one, jump into it. You say, body they draw like a hawk, but now one time, vibes on me. You say, hey. Body they sweet like a hawk, but now you say, hey, give it to me one time, vibe. Sweet though. Come on, body one time, you say, hey. I see the shake, turn up to this. One time, yes, I. One time. That's what I say. Tunde, what's up, vibe to me? Tunde and the craze, so one time. Vibe to this. Hey. You say this, hey. I balance it one time. Vibe to me one time. You say, I Happy birthday to you, sir. You say? Hey, one time. Hey.
We're so glad that we can be here tonight celebrating all of his successes over the past couple of decades, from movie making to documentary making to being part of the Oscars and Emmys. Now for us, it's just such a joy.
It's all about taking the vibe into environment. It's high. Vibes on me, you say?